Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be looking at Bitcoin and its recent price action to the upside and to humor the idea of how high Bitcoin can go from here. Now, this isn't to say about macro moves, more so short term moves uh, within the few weeks into Q1. That's kind of the range that I see. And in this video, we'll be looking at probably around in the next few weeks. So, in my previous video about Bitcoin, we were looking at the distance from the price to the 20-week moving average, and we know that we have seen percentages above the moving average much higher than what we are right now. Currently, right now, we're at 70% above the 20-week moving average. 20-week moving average right now is around $14,000. We have seen numbers of 180%, 85% to as high as 182%. Now, I contend that percentages over 100% above the moving average is a cause for concern. The fear is that we get too high above the 20-week moving average, and when we do come down, we're unable to hold it from the moving average. So we'll use the arbitrary number of around 80 to 90% above the moving average in the hopes of, that's as far as we can get in order to sustain the run, to keep the run going, so that if it does come down, the 20-week moving average is able to hold it. So with that in mind, and knowing that the moving average right now is at $14,000, I've I took the moving average price from the 16th to today and divided it by four. Sorry, divided by six. Sorry, divided by four. Today's the 20th. And we came to a number of about $500. So, and you can see it, right? Like when you look day to day to the moving average, it's increasing from 400 to around $600 per week. This week is interesting because we did increase about 24, almost 25% this week on the valuation of Bitcoin against the US dollar. And that had great effects of like this week's moving average. It moved the moving average from like 13.9, 13.8 to like $14,000. So with that said, we'll use the number of $500. It's an even number in between 4 and 6. So with that said, the next week's, so when this weekly candle closes and we move on to next week, uh, we can assume that the moving average will be around 14.5. Now, this, if Bitcoin goes up even higher, then the higher, like the longer we stay above this level, the more room we can like use this thought experiment to see how high Bitcoin can go. But for the absurd take, let's say we reach 90% over the 20-week moving average by next week. With that said, we're at 14. That means the moving average will be 14.5 times 90% above the moving average. That'll bring the price to about 27.5. So if Bitcoin's price was 90% above the moving average, that'll bring us to about that dot there, about 27,763 or 27.5 is the number. And that would be around the time where Bitcoin's price would be above 90, around 90% above the 20-week moving average. Let's say in Jan 1st. All right, you know what? Let's say Feb 1st. So let's say February 1st is the like our target date. How high can Bitcoin go in that short amount of time? Well, let's do the math. It's roughly $512 per week. There is how many weeks until then? It's about 6 weeks. So that's an increase about $3,000 from 14. That'll bring the 20-week moving average to around $17,000 and $17,072. Now, also keep in mind that is to assume that this trend continues for another 6 weeks. Highly possible, maybe not probable, but this is the data that we have to work with. So at around $17,000 is the 20-week moving average in 6 weeks. Times 90%, that would bring the price of Bitcoin to about $32,000. 32.5. That's close enough. And the reason why I want to kind of bring this to your attention is that we have more room to move up before uh, panic, for me at least, sets in. Panic in a way that we're getting to overextended. You can argue right now that we're already overextended, and there's a lot of people already saying that we're overextended. A correction is coming, whether that's to $20,000 to the 20-week or lower. They have some merit in saying that, but I will still contend because we're above the $20,000, we shifted another gear, so to speak, in the cycle of Bitcoin's price. Bitcoin's price will start accelerating, volatility will increase, and it will reflect on Bitcoin's price as well as altcoins. So I think it's important to know the range Bitcoin has in theoretically sustaining this run. Any higher than around 90% above the 20-week moving average is a little cause for concern, at least for me. Even at 80%, it becomes a cause for concern. But you can see that in 6 weeks, Bitcoin's price would have to increase roughly, another 30, 38, 40% in 6 weeks in order to get to that overextension. Possible? Yes. Likely? Who knows? I don't think it's likely. I think we've been moving up so quick, so fast that between now and Q1, Bitcoin will either cool off in terms of moving sideways or correct back. And either one scenario is fine by me. When we look at the last move of Bitcoin moving past its prior all-time high, and we see this correction here back to its prior all-time high. It also coincided with the 20-week moving average. These three weekly red candles, is when a lot of altcoins started gaining momentum. And so that was the one instance that you see where, yeah, Bitcoin crashed profusely, but it had a positive effect on altcoins. Before this point, and you can see in recent past, when Bitcoin corrects down, like what we saw in, say, the week of August 31st, when Bitcoin crashed, well, not necessarily crashed, but corrected down 12%, it had a negative effect on altcoins. I'm going to contend that if we do see another 12, 15% correction over a number of weeks on Bitcoin, it's going to have the opposite effect. It's going to have a very, very good effect on altcoins. That means my argument is that those funds that people are selling from Bitcoin are moving into altcoins. It's going to move into Ethereum, Chainlink, Uniswap, Basic Attention Token, any kind of altcoin, and they're going to benefit. However, what we see here is just a thought experiment on potentially how high we can go in the short term in relation to the 20-week moving average before it becomes too cause of concern. If we get to, I'll tell you right now, if we do get to 80, 90%, 100% over the 20-week moving average, I will be selling my position. I mean, even at this rate, I said in my previous video, if Bitcoin gets to about 26,000 in a short fashion, 26 to 28, that's one of my first sell targets for Bitcoin. And that money isn't going to be going into altcoins, that'll be going into stable coins or fiat. It would be the first trade of this cycle where I would do so, and I think it's now time to react. I think Bitcoin is rallying, which is great, but I think it's time to start taking advantage of it, lock in some profits, especially when Bitcoin's moving this quickly. Not all good things last forever, as we know here. Bitcoin did really well, and came crashing down. The 20-week could not hold. And one argument you could say is that, well, we were really high above the 20-week moving average. This was 84% above the 20-week moving average. The following one was a wick, a shooting star wick. And if you kind of, instead of using the close as the source, but the high, we were looking at 109% above the 20-week moving average. This is what I'm talking about. When Bitcoin's price is at a certain percentage above the 20-week moving average, it the risk of it not holding at the 20-week gets higher. And that's the kind of situation that I don't necessarily want to be in. And those are the kinds of situations where in the past, when you see Bitcoin come down to the 20-week, it could potentially be a very good trade to buy at that point. But if we're seeing overextension of 100+% above the 20-week moving average, and then it comes down to the 20-week, my tune changes in that sense. And if we do break the 20-week, well, then my entire expectation of the market at that point will change instantly. If we are unable to hold the 20-week and we close below, I think there'd be a huge and very quick, from my part, change in portfolio, at least for the short term. I do not want to hold cryptocurrencies, whether that's Ethereum, Chainlink, what have you, when it breaks past this 20-week moving average. It's just not going to be a fun time, and I refuse to be a part of it. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to talk to you guys about today. Keep an eye on the distance between the 20-week and the price, and also keep an eye on the dominance chart, because if we do get to these 100% over, dominance is really going to show. I already talked about in my previous video of how much it showed. Now expect it to change and go even further up if Bitcoin continues this volatility and velocity to the upside, and we get to these overextended levels of 80, 90, 100% above the 20-week moving average. It's going to extremely affect altcoins in that sense. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Take care. Bye.